Hi, I'm Wendy from Abracadabra Quilting, and because we're coming into the autumn season, I'd like to share with you a quick tutorial on making a really fun maple leaf block. And it is right here. Now I've added a little bit myself because I'm going to eventually make this into a quilt. I'm going to make a lot of these blocks. So what I've added is a little bit of framing using the log cabin technique. But what I'm going to teach you in this tutorial is how to make the basic maple leaf block. So let's get going. From my stash, I chose these fabrics here that are all in the autumn colors, and I'm going to start with these two fabrics right here. The off-white will be the background, and the gold will be the maple leaf. So here we go. From the leaf fabric, you're going to need 2 3 7/8 inch squares, and you're going to need 4 3½ inch squares. And from the background, you're going to need 2 3 7/8 inch squares, 1 3½ inch square, and 2 3-inch squares. Now we're going to start with the stem block, which is right here. So for the stem block, you're going to need the 2 3-inch background pieces, and you're going to need one of the 3½ inch leaf pieces. And what we're going to do first is draw a diagonal line on the back of both of the background pieces. So one is finished here. We'll do the other. Corner to corner with indelible marking pen, fine point. There it is. Now we're going to take one of the background pieces with the diagonal line and face to face, I'm going to snuggle it right into the corner like that. Now I'm going to go to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew right along that diagonal line. Now what we're going to do is cut a 1/4 inch away from that seam line. So let's do that here. 1/4 inch. And then we're going to open it up, take it over to the iron, and press it. Now we're going to do exactly the same thing with the other 3-inch piece of background. Snuggle it into the corner, and we're going to sew right along the diagonal. Now we're going to cut off a 1/4 inch from the seam that we just made. There we go. I'm going to open it up, press it, and there's our stem block. Next step, we're going to take the 2 3 7/8 inch background pieces, and we're going to draw diagonal lines across them from corner to corner. Here we go. And we're going to match them up with the 2 3 7/8 inch leaf squares, right sides together. And we're going to take these to the sewing machine, and this time we're going to stitch a 1/4 inch away from the diagonal line on both sides. So there'll be a line of stitching a 1/4 inch away here, and another line of stitching a 1/4 inch away on the other side. Now we're going to cut right along the diagonal line in between those two lines of stitching. And when we open these pieces up, here's what we're going to have. These are called half square triangles. So I'm going to cut this one. We're going to have 4 of them then. I'm going to cut the diagonal line on this one, then take them to the ironing board, and I'm going to press them with the seam going towards the leaf fabric. Okay. Now we have 4 half square triangles, and the next step is just going to be to cut off these little dog ears because we really don't need those. And then we're going to lay the whole thing out in according to our pattern. Okay. Now I'm going to start laying out the block according to the diagram. So we'll start with our corner piece here of the background fabric. Here it is right here. And now we have 2 half square triangles. There's 1, there's 2. And right underneath it, we have one of our blocks of the leaf fabric. And we have another block, the center. And right here we have another half square triangle. There it is. Now we have our stem block. We have another solid block, the leaf fabric, and then we have our final half square triangle. And there we have our lovely maple leaf block. Next step is to sew each one of the 3 blocks across in rows. So I'm going to sew this block to this one, and then these 3, the last 3, and then I'm going to do the connecting seams, and our block will be complete. What you've learned here today in making this lovely maple leaf block is just some of the very rudimentary techniques of good quilting, good heirloom quilting. There is so much more to be found on my DVDs, and there are 6 other patterns there, including this lovely log cabin technique here, which is on the Stars and Stripes DVD. Visit abracadabraquilting.com and you'll see a lot more that will entice you into learning even more about good heirloom quilting. Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Happy stitching!